Like, subscribe and share fanfiction audiobook channel for more fun. Chapter 73. Rinnegan. Uchiha Itachi had gone with his father to read the stone tablet left by the Uchiha clan for thousands of years, which clearly recorded everything about the Uchiha clan, including its ancient predecessor, the Tsutsuki clan. The Uchiha clan is the bloodline of the Sage of Six Paths, but they only have the Sharingan. Why does this strange guy in front of him have the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths? As if sensing Uchiha Itachi's doubts, Pain slowly spoke, perhaps this chaotic ninja world needs a result, or perhaps this world needs gods. After feeling real pain, I got this pair of eyes with godlike power. When I had no power, I longed for peace. After I had power, I also did not forget my original intention, but I knew that the way of friendly communication could no longer make these people who were burning with desire enter enlightenment. Only real pain can stop the meaningless wars of the entire ninja world. What I want is a peaceful and quiet life. Under the bright night sky, Itachi and Pain sat around the campfire. The atmosphere seemed very harmonious. It was hard to tell that the simple fight between them an hour ago had directly destroyed a forest. The relationship between the clan and the village is getting worse and worse, so between the village and the clan, I chose the village. I don't want to destroy the beauty and peace of the village. Uchiha Itachi slowly narrated the revised story to the two, trying to make up the whole incident with the ideas that both of them agreed with. Don't you regret it? Konan said. A hint of complexity appeared on her cold face from the time they met until now. The tenacity of the boy in front of her was stronger than she thought. Bearing all the sins, just to maintain the beauty and peace of the village, even willing to abandon the family, what kind of word is this? Pain didn't speak, listening quietly. But Nagato, who was far away in the rain country, was in a complicated mood. The person in front of him reminded him of his childhood companion, the main body of Tendu Pain, Yahiko. But compared to the enthusiastic and cheerful Yahiko, Itachi's ideas were more mature and responsible. Nagato always felt that Yahiko's death was because he was too naive. If he wasn't too naive, perhaps everything would change now, and even their 23-year-old dream might have been realized. With his own eyes and Yahiko's leadership ability, they can definitely change the world. I will believe that what you say about peace is true. Itachi did not answer Konan's question. Although the question was not the same, Itachi did not regret becoming an undercover agent to maintain the relationship between the village and the family. So do you agree to be one of us? Pain asked. I can join you, but I have a condition in exchange. Itachi looked at the two and said, you can't do anything to Konoha, or affect the situation in Konoha. Impossible. Pain shook his head. Since we want to achieve peace, it is absolutely impossible to exclude Konoha from the plan, not to mention that there is a person in Konoha that we urgently need in our plan. There is another point that Nagato did not make clear. There is the person who killed his brother in Konoha. When the time is right, he will definitely go to Konoha and kill the old guy. Seeing Pain's firm answer, Itachi thought for a while and added, you can't mess up Konoha in the overall situation. If you really want to do something to Konoha, please do it after I die. If you don't die, then won't our plan be shelved all the time? Konan asked with a frown. Itachi unfolded the Sharingan, and the two people opposite him thought he was going to attack again and quickly retreated, but they heard his explanation, my eyes are running out of power, and it will start to consume my vitality. If nothing goes wrong, I may only have a few years to live. Although the Manjiki Sharingan is strong, it also has a lot of burden. But perhaps because different Manjiki have different abilities, the corresponding side effects are also different. Unlike Uchiha Madara, who will go blind after the power of the eyes is exhausted, Itachi can feel that as he uses the eye techniques in the Manjiki, his vision is not greatly affected but there is a lot of burden on the body. It was only the first time he used the Amaterasu fire, and he could already feel the fatigue of his body while using it. He would delay it for a few years, and then he would transplant his Sharingan to Sasuke to help him open the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Even if Pain has the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths, Konoha may not have no chance, and he can be regarded as a successful retirement. Also feeling the determination in Uchiha Itaka's words, perhaps because Itaka's idea reminded Nagato of Yahiko, Pain slowly said, "I promise not to attack Konoha before you die, but in exchange, you have to work for me and the organization." At this time, White Zetsu, who was far away, looked at this scene with a smile and said, "This kid is really devoted to Konoha, unlike someone else." "Shut up!" Uchiha Obito said with a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes, but his eyes were full of complexity when he looked at Uchiha Itaka, who was negotiating with Pain. The person who recommended Itaka as a member of the Akatsuki organization was Obito. As a member of the Uchiha clan, and through White Zetsu, he found out that Itaka might have awakened Mangekyou Sharingan, so Obito recommended Uchiha Itaka to Pain. However, since he recommended him, the king would naturally come to watch the process of issuing the invitation. But this kid is also cruel. He is merciless to his fellow clan members, just like you did at the beginning. Obito. White Zetsu still said with a smile, his words were meaningful, and the person involved immediately understood who he was referring to. "Shut up!" As if touched the reverse scale, Obito turned back with a murderous look at White Zetsu. The Mangekyou under the mask rotated rapidly, and the space around him seemed to change with this roar. "Don't talk!" Black Zetsu couldn't stand this guy with a bad mouth, and suppressed White Zetsu to stop him from speaking. Compared to the silly and innocent White Zetsu, Black Zetsu seemed a little indifferent, and didn't even look at Uchiha Itaka a few more times. "It's a pity that you just came out of the water country. If you caught up with this guy's plan, you might be able to take a few Sharingan." Black Zetsu's calm voice sounded, "You frequently used your ability during the time in the water country, and I can already feel that your body is not as good as before. It's okay." Uchiha Obito took a deep breath to calm the murderous intent in his heart. With Hashirama cells, the consumption of Mangekyou ability is not a concern for the time being. He did feel the burden on his body begin to increase recently, and was accompanied by severe discomfort, which made him extremely tired and had to stop and rest from time to time. Let Uchiha Itaka's affairs be left to him for now. Nine Tails has the largest chakra among the nine-tailed beasts, and it is not easy to capture them. Uchiha Obito turned his eyes away from Itaka and said, "For the time being, we will awaken the power of the Gedo statue by capturing other tailed beasts. It will be easier to extract nine tails at that time." Recently, all countries have begun to be in chaos. It is a good opportunity to take advantage of this opportunity to start capturing tailed beasts in advance. Be careful not to let Nagato know that the war was provoked by us. Got it? Black Zetsu and the speechless White Zetsu began to melt, their bodies blending into the ground and disappearing. After taking a look at Itaka and Pain, who had already reached an agreement, Obito dodged and left. "Impossible!" Sora yelled at Danzo. In the canyon, Danzo sat on a rock, and opposite him was Sora, who couldn't believe it. "That's the truth. Your father is a wanted criminal in the Land of Fire. He was once one of the 12 guards of the daimyo. Later, his attempt to assassinate the third Hokage was exposed and he lost his position. The reason why you are demonized is because your father used you as a tool to destroy Konoha. During the Nine Tails Rebellion, he took the opportunity to collect the chakra of the tailed beasts and sealed them in your body for cultivation. After the incident was exposed, the 6 daimyo guards led by your father hastily launched a coup, but because of the haste, they were quickly defeated. The other 5 guards that your father bewitched have died. He was lucky to escape with his life. We originally thought that this matter would pass like this. D also took you in at the fire temple because you are the son of an old friend, trying to suppress the power of the tailed beast in your body. But I recently discovered that your father is actually still alive, and he is trying to make a comeback and launch a coup in the Land of Fire again, and you are one of his bargaining chips." Danzo said, looking at Sora's unbelievable face. Kazuma has already contacted the daimyo, and the daimyo has already started preparing a new round of coup plans, but because of the chaos in the ninja world, Danzo guessed that they would not start to act so quickly. But Danzo would not give them time to prepare. If they waited until they were fully prepared to launch a coup and attack Konoha, it would be quite troublesome to end it at that time. He planned to use Kong to force them to act as soon as possible. Impossible. Kong shook his head and said absent-mindedly. He didn't care about the land of fire and Konoha, or any plan. What Kong cared about was that in Danzo's words, his father's feelings towards him were so cold. He even didn't treat him as a person, but as a tool. What about you? After a short period of blankness, Kong's mind suddenly remembered something. As the son of a sinner, I have such an important power. What is the purpose of your coming? Take me away so that that guy can't find me, or kill me. While speaking, he kept staring at Danzo's eyes. But he was not as alert as before and ready to escape at any time. After a brief exchange just now, he was very clear that the other party's strength or identity would not allow him to escape easily, and he had given up on running away, which was a waste of energy. In this meaningless fight, you, the little guy, are the most innocent victim. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. Danzo shook his head and said, although you think you are the son of a sinner, after hearing these narrations from me, you should also know clearly what kind of person your father is. Although he gave birth to you, he did not fulfill the corresponding obligations. Do you still recognize him as your father? Sora was stunned for a moment, and was a little surprised that Danzo would let him go, but he clenched his fists and did not answer his evaluation of his father, and said, these things are just your personal words, you have no evidence for me to believe you. Although he is not very old, his independence from childhood to adulthood makes him much more mature than ordinary children, just like Naruto. Who said I don't have evidence? Danzo looked at him with a smile, time is the best evidence. Sooner or later your father will contact you again, and then you will know whether what I said is true or false. The seeds in his heart have been planted. No matter whether Kazuma has no feelings for his son as in the original book, as long as Sora has a preconceived idea that he is an irresponsible guy, he will not listen to Kazuma's words. Now you should make a choice. Danzo looked at him calmly and asked, do you want to be an outsider to witness all this, or do you want to be an insider to change all this? If you want to be an outsider, I will transfer the power of the tailed beast in your body. You have no use value, and Kazuma will not contact you. You can quietly watch everything that is about to happen in the land of fire. And if you want to be an insider, you must first learn to control the power in your body. However, the power in your body is not brought by the real tailed beast, but a group of consciousnessless, purely tyrannical and evil-tailed beast chakra. As long as your will is strong enough, you can still control it. After speaking, Danzo quietly waited for Sora's answer. There are two choices. No matter which choice is made, it can affect Kazuma's judgment. Sora's heart is complicated and he is very entangled in these two options. The first choice is to observe all this as an outsider. He may not even see his father, but he can still confirm his plan through domestic news. Danzo said it with great confidence, but in fact, Kong himself already believed it 3/10 of the time. If he chose the second option, he could question his father with the remaining 7/10 of suspicion, but in this case, there was a high probability that he would become an enemy with his father, and the father and son would kill each other. There was only a small probability that Danzo's words were all lies, and his father actually still had feelings for him as a father and son, and he would give up this plan for himself. After thinking for a long time, Kong stretched out his beast-like right hand and asked, If I choose the first option, can my hand be restored? This is a mutation caused by the influence of the tailed beast chakra during your growth. Now the arm has grown. In my opinion, it is irreversible, but if you are willing to wait, maybe one day I will bring a ninja with super medical ability to help you. Danzo was not sure that Kong's arm could be restored to the appearance of an ordinary person. After all, he did not know much about medical ninjutsu. If one day Tsunade was willing to join him, he would not mind taking some time to bring Tsunade to help this kid. But the premise is that Tsunade is willing to listen to him. You have to know that Shimura Danzo's reputation in the Sarutobi faction is not a good person. Among Sarutobi's 3 apprentices, only Orochimaru is willing to contact him. I choose the first one. After struggling for a while, Sora finally made a choice. As an outsider to witness all this, losing this demonized power is not a loss for him. Chapter 74. Although this will make him lose the opportunity to meet his father, Kong still hopes to live in the Fire Temple as an ordinary person. The monk's rejection of him makes him feel disgusted with his own existence, but at the same time he longs to change all this. Since you choose to stand outside, I will take this power away from you. Solving the problem of the tailed beast chakra in Sora's body is not as simple as Danzo said. If he relies on himself alone, he has no way to guarantee that this chakra can be transferred without hurting Sora. It took a total of half a month to go from Fire Temple to Konoha. Of course, if it weren't for Sora's condition, Danzo's speed could be faster. Is this Konoha village? Walking curiously on the streets of Konoha, Sora's eyes were full of surprise and longing. It was at this time that he exclaimed like a child. This was his first time walking out of Fire Temple. He also passed some small villages along the way, but they were incomparable to the environment in Fire Temple, so Sora didn't care much. Now that he came to Konoha, he was just a country bumpkin who had never seen anything in the world. Whether it was food, buildings, or the clothes of pedestrians on the street, Sora felt strange and curious. Konoha is where ninjas live. Although it looks beautiful, it is actually not as good as Kyoto. Danzo occasionally greeted passers-by, but these people were not so enthusiastic. Maybe they got used to it after seeing each other for a long time. Kyoto? Kong asked curiously. It's where the daimyo lives. Danzo explained, the daimyo is not a ninja, and he doesn't pay attention to practicality like a ninja. And because of his bloodline and status, the place where he lives is naturally the most prosperous and lively area in the entire Fire Country. Is that guy also in Kyoto? Kong's face calmed down when he mentioned the daimyo. In the past, I don't know his whereabouts now. Danzo cried, now you wait for me at the door for a while. I'll find 10 helpers to transfer the tailed beast chakra on your body to your residence. Song nodded and watched Danzo walk into the Hokage building. The road was smooth. Danzo came to the Hokage office, and as usual, he opened the door without knocking. F. In addition to Sarutobi Hiruzen, 2 advisors, Udaten Koharu and Mito Kato Homura, were present, and the 3 of them seemed to be discussing something, apparently a small meeting. Seeing Danzo's sudden visit, Sarutobi's eyes flashed with joy, while the other 2 frowned, but because Sarutobi had said before that he forgot Danzo's words about not attending the meeting, they did not mock him. It just so happens that we are discussing about the ninja school. I think we should change the way of teaching. Danzo, what do you think? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked as if he had forgotten the embarrassing things before. Unlike the second generation era, people of this generation have tasted the benefits of the peaceful era, and the civilians in the village have more ideas in their hearts. The recent situation in the ninja world is well known. The original teaching method is no longer applicable to today. The people of the big families have called their children back to their own families for training, and among the civilians, except for a few who have already started school or are willing to devote themselves, there are no new students enrolled. After all, in this era, once you enroll, you will become a ninja and go to the battlefield. The graduation rate has been changed again and again. In peacetime, only 10% of the graduates can successfully graduate. Now, as long as you enroll, you will definitely be eligible to get the Genin Forward Protector, which also makes many civilians stay away. The children of the big families are not as well trained. Most of their children can only be cannon fodder on the battlefield. Only a few talented people can survive and rise to prominence. Therefore, the teaching methods of ninja schools must be changed. At least those civilians should not think that their children are enrolled to be cannon fodder. Danzo looked at him in surprise. He was a little uncomfortable with Sarutobi Hiruzen's enthusiasm after seeing him, but then Danzo's eyes flashed with a strangeness. Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him was much older than the last time they met, and there was a world of difference from the first time he came to this world. His grey hair was almost gone, and the Madara lines on his face were more and more obvious. At this time, he did not look leisurely with a big pipe in his mouth, but a sad face. It seems that the chaos in the ninja world caused by the changed world line has consumed a lot of his mind and accelerated his aging speed. The whole person's spirit is not as good as before. Although I really want to help you share these things, the purpose of my coming is not to attend this meeting. Danzo spread his hands and sat in the only vacant seat, which was originally his seat. The joy on Sarutobi's face stagnated, and the other two consultants frowned and also darkened their brows. What news have you found out? Hearing Danzo's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that Danzo's people had found out some bad news again, and even Danzo couldn't handle this news. You must know that since Danzo's temperament changed drastically, many things have been out of Sarutobi's or even other people's eyes. Many things he can handle will hardly be notified to others, and now his arrival is obviously a big deal this time. In fact, this matter has not been determined yet. I just want to make preparations as soon as possible. Danzo shook his head and said, it is not a good thing for him to reveal his name to these guys now. Do you remember the assassination attempt on you a few years ago? You asked Kakashi to kill me. No, not that time. Danzo said calmly, as if it was not him who had persuaded Kakashi to assassinate Sarutobi, but it was indeed not him at that time. Udaten Koharu and Mitokado Homura were stunned. What kind of attitude did these two people have to allow each other to live until now? They didn't know that Danzo had sent Kakashi to assassinate Sarutobi. But they knew that not long ago, when Danzo led the team back to victory, Sarutobi had led people to try to end him. Although he didn't succeed in the end, in the eyes of the two, their relationship seemed to have worsened since then. But now it seems that they thought too much. The process of getting along between these two people is so wonderful. The small matter of Yesong assassinating each other can't affect their friendship. Wama. After thinking for a while, Sarutobi Hiruzen remembered that there was another assassination attempt in recent years, and it was because of this assassination that his son and his own ideas changed more. Danzo nodded and continued, that guy has a son. When Nine Tails was causing chaos in the village, he once collected the chakra that escaped from Nine Tails and sealed it in his son's body, intending to use this container to cause chaos in Konoha again. The kid named Kong was saved by Asuma at the time. I know his existence and the tailed beast chakra sealed in his body. He was still a baby at the time. If you want to transfer this power out, it will inevitably affect his life, so I let him stay in the fire temple for the time being. He should be living a stable life in the fire temple now. Dailu sends me messages from time to time to report his situation. Sarutobi breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be this matter. It's okay. He didn't tell Danzo about this matter. Otherwise, with Danzo's character, he would not let such a child who threatens the village wander around outside. Of course, what I want to say is not so easy. Danzo saw Sarutobi's relieved look and knew that he had misunderstood his meaning. I found out that Kazuma might still be alive and might have an impact on this child, so I went to the fire temple to bring him back to Konoha, intending to transfer the tailed beast chakra from him. What? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes widened. Impossible, there is absolutely no way that guy can survive. Your son's heart is softer than you think. He has learned your true teachings and is even better. Danzo said without hiding the sarcasm in his tone. And Sarutobi's face darkened. At the beginning, Asuma was a little dissatisfied with his attitude towards him. He also had some interest in Kazuma's theory. If he was not his father, perhaps Asuma would really attack him. In this way, it is not impossible for Asuma to spare Kazuma's life. Where is he now? Sarutobi asked. Downstairs. Danzo replied, you can see him by looking down from the window. Hearing this, Sarutobi stood up, and Koharu and Homura also came to the window and looked down. A child with a childish face and a slightly thin body was sitting on a wooden chair next to the Konoha building. As if he could feel the gazes of several people, Kong, who was downstairs, raised his head and met their gazes. Smiling kindly at Kong, Sarutobi retracted his gaze and sat back on the chair and said, he is not much older now than before. Judging from his thin body, he can't withstand the invasion of the tailed beast chakra at all, and he may lose his life during the transfer. Otherwise, why would I bring him back to Konoha village? Danzo cried, there must be a medical ninja to help heal during the transfer. If possible, you can do the transfer yourself this time. Sarutobi nodded. Indeed, he is the most powerful grandmaster of the sealing technique in Konoha village. But he looked at Danzo strangely. Sure enough, this guy has changed a lot. If it was before, he would not even bring him back. He would just kill him in the fire temple and solve the whole incident. Danzo did not explain much and continued, put these chakras back on Naruto. His current strength is at the level of Genin and it is time to remove the seal. With 9 tails absorbing it, these chakras will enter Naruto's body more easily. Sarutobi was silent for a while. Kide, let's find another container to carry this power. Although having 9 tails in the middle to pull it can indeed make it easier to transfer this power to Naruto, there are also certain risks. 9 tails is undoubtedly self-aware. How long the tailed beasts have existed has always been a mystery. In these long years, the tailed beasts can learn much more than humans. If it were not for the restrictions on the use of ninjutsu by the tailed beasts, or if humans could not control the existence of the tailed beasts at all. In the process of traction and transfer of the tailed beast chakra, if 9 tails shows any abnormal movement, to be honest, Sarutobi Hiruzen feels that he may not be able to control the situation in his current state. He is too tired. Every day, there are piles of documents waiting for him to deal with, especially after the war between the Land of Fire and the Land of Lightning, there are more and more things. Ordinary containers cannot carry the chakra of the tailed beasts. Do you have a corresponding candidate? Danzo frowned. Apart from Naruto, he really couldn't think of any candidate who could make his opinion not be refuted by Sarutobi. Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent for a long time without answering. Finally, he seemed to have made a decision. He looked up at Udaten Koharu and Mitokado Homura who were also waiting for a reply at the table and said, you go out first. I need to talk to Danzo alone about something. The two were stunned for a moment. They didn't react to this sentence immediately, but after filtering the content of this sentence in their minds again, their faces looked ugly at the same time. They snorted and got up and left. With a bang, the door of the Hokage's office was closed, and the atmosphere became a little quiet. Danzo sat leisurely opposite Sarutobi, yawning and waiting for his reply. At a desk, Danzo and Sarutobi sat opposite each other. Looking at the still young Danzo opposite him, Sarutobi felt a sense of loss for the first time in a long time. They were from the same family and were also disciples of the second generation. They had cooperated and competed with each other. But after that choice, the paths of the two became different. Once upon a time, Sarutobi Hiruzen always felt that he was superior to Danzo, whether in strategy or reputation and status, but now as the Hokage, he is about to die. And this guy? If I give you the position of Hokage, can you let me return to youth like you? Danzo was stunned by Sarutobi Hiruzen's abrupt words, and then he looked at him with a smile and said, didn't I say that this was an accident? Since it was an accident, there is naturally no way for you to be a vassal like me. Really? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo deeply, I was just joking. Although he said so, if Danzo really agreed to his request at that moment, could he really give up the chance to survive for Konoha? So you called them away to tell me this? Danzo asked, I just want to know who you choose to carry the tailed beast chakra. I don't want to care about the rest. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and said, as you can see, I may not be able to hold on any longer. My body can no longer stay in this position to hold power. I want to make a deal with you. You decide who will carry this tailed beast chakra, and in return, you cannot interfere with my choice of the next Hokage. Anyway, Danzo can't be the Hokage, but Sarutobi's body is already difficult to hold on. Once he abdicates, if Danzo really wants to participate in the election, with his current popularity in the entire Fire Country and the entire Konoha village, becoming the 5th Hokage is almost a foregone conclusion. Chapter 75. Sarutobi has always been deeply influenced by the purpose of the first generation. He believes that peaceful development is the right path. He maintains the relationship between the village and other countries and pays attention to the development of young people in the village. But Danzo's appointment will undoubtedly distort the will of fire that he has created with great difficulty. Sarutobi can imagine that when Danzo takes office, the entire Konoha will be led by him to launch a war against other countries. Of course, you can make other requests, and I will try my best to meet them. This transaction is obviously unequal. In exchange for the next Hokage candidate with a tailed beast chakra, Sarutobi Hiruzen can guess with his toes that Danzo will not agree to this deal. However, Danzo surprised him and waved his hand casually and said, it's up to you, since the container candidate is decided by me. I just happen to have someone who needs this good power. Although this transaction is seriously unequal, Danzo didn't want to continue to embarrass him. After all, this old guy looks quite pitiful. Even if Sarutobi has the opportunity to live until he completes his plan, he may be angry to death on the spot. Thinking of this, Danzo laughed in his heart. Sarutobi was a little surprised by Danzo's straightforwardness, but was afraid that he was plotting something behind his back, so he couldn't help but ask, you really don't have any other conditions? As soon as he saw Sarutobi's look, Danzo knew what he was thinking. Let me decide the graduation time of Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Harano Sakura. The 3 of them will be divided into a group, and Hotaki Kakashi will be the instructor of Jonin. You have to cooperate with my actions throughout the process. Danzo thought of the previous group assignment and mentioned it again. Kakashi. Sarutobi frowned. The current situation is serious. Kakashi, as an important captain in Anbu, helps him deal with many things every day. If Kakashi is asked to be the instructor of Jonin, it would be a waste of resources. As for the identities of Naruto and Sasuke, Sarutobi was no longer as vigilant as before. Danzo was already familiar with them. When he wanted to stop them before, it was too late. Then he just let them do what they wanted. After thinking for a while, Sarutobi agreed with Danzo's decision. I'll bring the people here and transfer the tailed beast chakra as soon as possible. After that, I have to send him back. Since the decision has been made, Danzo didn't stay for long. He opened the window and jumped down. He told Sora to wait here for a while and he would bring the candidates for transfer here. As soon as Danzo left, Koharu and Homura, who were waiting outside, also returned to the house. 7:30. What decision have you made? Koharu asked dissatisfiedly. She was very annoyed that the 2 often excluded them, but she could do nothing about it. Sarutobi, have you forgotten the original agreement? Mitokado Homura also shouted anxiously, the 4 of us make the first-hand decision together. Now you 2 are doing too much, don't you plan to inform us? Help me send a message to call Jiraiya back. It's time to make some decisions. Sarutobi didn't answer. He gave the 2 of them an order and walked out of the office quickly, leaving the 2 people stunned behind. He still had to prepare for the transfer of the tailed beast chakra, and he didn't have time to compete with them for decision-making power here. Shimura Station. 1005. 1006. Accompanied by the counting, a series of dull snapping sounds came from Shimura Shinpeiki's body. Shimura Yi waved the long whip in his hand and whipped Shimura Shinpeiki with some heartache. As he whipped, a faint blue chakra wave flickered on Shimura Shinpeiki's body. Although most of the force was resisted by Shimura Shinpeiki's earth attribute chakra, it still left deep red scars on his body. "Let's stop here today, little Shinpeiki," Shimura Yi said in a negotiating tone, but he couldn't help sighing in his heart. This is indeed a good child. This tenacity and perseverance are much stronger than when he was young. During this period of time, he had to let go of his initial prejudice against Shimura Shinpeiki, because this child really made him feel sorry. Regardless of his talent, at least Shimura Shinpeiki sweated twice as much as others, and even more than that. Needless to say, he suffered a lot, which can be seen from the dense black and blue wounds on his body. Because of Danzo's words, Shimura Shinpeiki, who decided to become a meat shield for the team, did very hard anti-strike training, and finally mastered the earth attribute chakra nature transformation and used his own body to feel this change. "No. Grandpa Yi, I can bear it. Only if I can bear it, can the other members of the team rest assured to leave the safety to me." His little face flushed red. The innocence of Shimura Shinpeiki's face was gone. His dark face showed the training he had received. He gritted his teeth and said, "Danzo said he would arrange 2 teammates for me. He and you both have high hopes for me. I can't make mistakes at the critical moment." But Shimura wanted to say something, but was interrupted by a familiar voice. "Very good, you didn't let me down." The voice came from far away, and Danzo was standing beside the two of them with a smile. "Team Danzo-sama." Shimura Shinpeiki stood up with his chest straightened, and Shimura Tsuyoshi had not had time to withdraw his whip and swung it on his body, but he seemed not to hear it. The blood from the wound oozed out and dripped onto the ground, and was soaked by sweat, but Shimura Shinpeiki still looked at Danzo with bright eyes. "I feel your hints and encouragement. I read every newspaper you publish. I remember every word you say in my heart. Only by sweating more during training can you bleed less in real battles. I remember every bit of your expectations in my heart." Shimura Shinpeiki said excitedly, and he looked like a fanatical fan of Danzo. The moment he saw Danzo, there was no other thing in front of his eyes, and he could not feel the fatigue and pain in his body. He just wanted to listen to the teachings of Danzo-sama more. This sentence. Danzo looked at the man in front of him, Shimura Shinpeiki's fanatical eyes, scratching his head, as if he did remember a sentence from his previous life after a certain counseling, and reported it casually, and the young man in front of him misunderstood something. "You can understand my painstaking efforts, which makes me very happy." Patting Shimura Shinpeiki's shoulder, Danzo felt the fiery heart of the young man in front of him. "Since you didn't let me down, I will also abide by my promise to put on the genin forward protector for you, and find 2 other suitable teammates." Shimura Shinpeiki is the most talented child selected by Danzo from the Shimura clan, and he is also a good seedling that he is going to focus on training. The light in Shimura's eyes became brighter, and his whole body trembled with excitement. "But before that, I need to take you to the final training, so that you can really have the strength to protect your teammates." Danzo said with a smile, "I will personally arrange and supervise these 10 training sessions for you. Personally accept training from Master Danzo." Shimura's eyes widened, and he couldn't wait to know what training Master Danzo arranged for him. "But let me make it clear first, this training is very hard. If you fail, you may die." Danzo said seriously, "The other party is working for him, and he admires him so much, he has to tell Shimura Shinpeiki the risks of this transfer, but also tell him the corresponding benefits. You must have heard of the tailed beasts. I will transfer some of the chakra left over from the Nine Tails rebellion a few years ago to your body. The tailed beast chakra is not more violent and difficult to control than the chakra extracted from the human body, but the benefits of these chakras are equally unimaginable. With this huge chakra as a baptism, you can make your body tougher and give you a strong recovery ability. Since you have become the meat shield of the team according to my plan and are responsible for the team's protection and safety, if you agree to accept this power, you are definitely not weaker than any genius with outstanding talents." Hearing Danzo's narration, Shimura, who was listening quietly, became anxious and said, "No. This child must not be a Jinkraki. The tailed beast is not something he can control. Not a Jinkraki, just a carrier of the tailed beast chakra. I will let others use this chakra to transform the newcomer's body and he will have a stronger physical fitness than ordinary people." Danzo shook his head and explained. "Even if it's just chakra, it's dangerous. Shinpeki, you can't be worse off if you practice with me than accept this power." Shimura Yi hurriedly said to Shinpeki. Danzo didn't stop Shimura Yi's words, but added, "Whether you accept this power or not, I will also help you find 2 suitable teammates and put on the forehead protector belonging to Genin for you. This will not change." Just like letting Sora make the decision himself before, Danzo gave the decision to him, but he believed that a child who was heavily influenced by his culture would never refuse this opportunity. "I accept." Sure enough, Shimura Shinpeki accepted Danzo's proposal without hesitation. His expression was full of apology. He looked at Shimura Yi and said, "Grandpa Yi, I know you are doing this for my own good. I also saw 9 tails when I was a child and knew how terrible the tailed beasts were. But you should also know that my original goal was to become stronger, strong enough to leave the clan, and even I wanted to leave the village to face those more powerful opponents outside." Facing Shimura Shinpeki's resolute eyes, Shimura Yi sighed. He now values this child more than his own grandson, just because he admires the stubbornness and obsession shown by Shimura Shinpeki. He has been raised in the Shimura family for so many years, and this is the first child who makes him feel the atmosphere of the past. Seeing that Grandpa Yi did not speak out to stop him, Shimura Shinpeki was relieved. If he really spoke out to stop him, it would be difficult for him to take risks regardless of the kindness of this elder. "Have you thought about it? Are you not afraid of death?" Danzo asked with a smile. "I have thought about it. I will definitely succeed," Shimura Shinpeki said firmly. Nodding with satisfaction, Danzo directly reached out and picked up Shimura Shinpeki and disappeared in front of Shimura Yi, without even giving him time to prepare and put on the stop clothes. A lot of time has been wasted on Shimura Shinpeki making a choice. Sora and Sarutobi should be waiting anxiously. Sure enough, when Danzo arrived with Shimura Shinpeki, who was shirtless, Sora, and there is already some tension between the Sarutobi. Originally, Sarutobi wanted to do a physical checkup for Sora while there was still time, but facing Sora's vigilance, he tried to persuade the child for a long time but the child didn't listen. However, he was not like Danzo who would force himself directly, and now he could only keep wasting time like this in public. After hearing Sarutobi's explanation, Danzo nodded and said to Sora, "Do a checkup first. The person in front of you is the Hokage of Konoha, one of the 2 leaders of the Land of Fire. He will not easily harm a child like you." He could understand Sora's vigilance. After all, a lot of things happened in the past few days. When they first met, Sora was also so vigilant about him. Although Dailuo later testified to help Danzo confirm his identity, Sora's agreement to follow him to leave the Fire Temple and come to Konoha was already a sign of trust in him. This kid still has a certain ability to judge. Sora thought for a while, and explained to Sarutobi, "Hokage, I don't disbelieve you, but your smile is a little scary." The smile on Sarutobi's face froze, and he felt that it would be better not to explain to the child in front of him. Turning his head away from Sora, Sarutobi said to Shimura Shinpeki beside Danzo, "You are Shinpeki, right? I have heard that you are 10 very hard-working children." This is his usual method. Every time the amiable third Hokage said this to the children, it would inspire these children to move forward. They would feel honored to be remembered by him. Only Sora, an outsider who had never seen him and had not been influenced by his will of fire, would reject him so much. If they could spend more days together, Sarutobi believed that he could appease this kid's emotions and even let him stay in Konoha to work for him. Hearing Sarutobi's words, Shimura Shinpei looked surprised, but the words were not what Sarutobi Hiruzen was thinking, and said, "Did Lord Danzo also mention me in front of you? I didn't expect that Lord Danzo thought so highly of me that he even mentioned a child like him in front of the Hokage." Sarutobi was confused. He was the one who praised this child, why did he bring it up to Danzo? Lord Danzo! Panting, Zhen Shui hurried over. As a medical ninja that Danzo has devoted all his efforts to train since childhood, Nono is known as a walking shrine maiden. Her attainments in medical ninjutsu are definitely not much worse than Tsunade, but she belongs to the more orthodox medical ninjutsu, without those strange settings, and her combat effectiveness is far inferior to others. In the anime, the more prominent medical ninjas, Yakushi Kabuto and Tsunade, both use their medical ninjutsu in battle, which also greatly improves their strength. And Nono is just a pure doctor because of Danzo's arrangement. Chapter 76. In a completely closed training ground in Konoha. He is thin, probably because he is malnourished because of not eating properly, but his arms are much stronger than other parts of his body. Carefully inspecting Sora's body, Nono explained to Danzo while inspecting. His arm has become beastly due to the problem of the tailed beast's chakra. Can you help him solve this problem? Danzo asked. He still remembered that he promised Sora before, to help him solve the problem of his arm. And Sora also looked at Nono with wide eyes, looking forward to her answer. His body became beastly during the development of his body, and this process cannot be reversed. Nono shook her head and said. Hearing her answer, Sora lowered his head a little disappointed. But if he is willing to have a transplant operation by removing his arm, he may be able to have a normal arm, but after all, it is not his own arm. He may not be able to adapt to the operation during the operation. In serious cases, he may not be able to become a ninja. After hesitating for a while, Nono said a feasible solution, but no ninja would accept this solution. No one wants to lose the identity of a ninja. Danzo nodded. This method has wonderful medical ninjutsu in this world, and it should be easy to complete. How about it? If you don't accept this method, you can wait for a while. There may be a better way to solve this problem in the future. Danzang looked at Kong and asked. Kong pursed his lips. If he couldn't use ninjutsu, he would only be an ordinary monk when he returned to the fire temple. But thinking of the disgusted eyes of those monks, he still gritted his teeth and said, I accept this plan. As long as I can have a normal body, I can do it even if I don't become a ninja. Nono was a little surprised that Kong actually agreed to her plan, but after seeing Danzo's calm face, he nodded and said, I understand. After the chakra transfer is completed, I will start preparing for your arm transplant operation. Danzo didn't say anything about Sora's decision. This was his own choice. If he regretted it one day in the future, he should bear it himself. Is this the side effect you mentioned? Shimura Shinpei said, looking at Sora's exposed arm, which had sharp claws like a wild beast. Danzo Kaide, if you accept this power, it may be more serious than this. No one can predict the outcome before it is carried out, but you have to be mentally prepared. I understand. Shimura Shinpei said, but his eyes always stayed on Sora's right arm. Compared to Sora's thin body, this arm is unimaginably strong, completely out of the body that a child should have, with strong muscles stacked up on the arm. If he masters this power, he will have the strength to protect his teammates. Shinpei's heart is full of desire and longing, completely different from Sora's disgust for this power, which also makes Sora look at the black boy in front of him a few more times. Since everything is ready, let's start. Sarutobi Hiruzen and several members of the sealing squad came to Sora's side and fixed his body, surrounding him in the center, while Nono and several other medical ninjas waited nearby, ready to help Sora with treatment at any time. 4 Pillars Elephant Barrier Technique. 4 ninjas from the Ceiling Squad set up a barrier for the entire training ground to prevent the tailed beast chakra from leaking out. 5 Elements Unseal. Sarutobi Hiruzen stretched out his palm, with 5 different chakras on his 5 fingers. With a roar, his palm hit the seal of Sora fiercely. The 5 fingers just correspond to the 5 elements seal of Kazuma. KG. As the seal was lifted, the tailed beast chakras without any means of restraint emerged from Sora's body to his body. These tailed beast chakras had no consciousness, and only rushed around in his body with violent and destructive emotions. And other parts of his body began to change into beasts. The humanity in his pupils had gradually disappeared, leaving only the beast-like beast pupils. With the collision of chakra, the skin on his body was like broken paper. Wait for these chakras to completely assimilate Sora's body, and he will become a beast without reason and only destructive. The strong air pressure spread around Sora, and the nearby trees began to sway directly with the spread of this chakra, and there was a sense of déjà vu of being uprooted by the wind pressure at any time. But the few people present were not ordinary people, at least they had with the strength of a Jnin. The chakra was attached to the solace of his feet and stuck to the ground, while Shimura Shinpeki, who only had the strength of a genin, was supported by Danzo and watched all this in a daze. Begin to transfer. Without any delay, the moment Sarutobi released the seal, the other ninjas of the Ceiling Squad had quickly formed a seal to extract the tailed beast chakra from Sora's body. With the seals that were prepared in advance to fix his body, Sora was completely unable to resist even if he had lost his mind. The tailed beast chakra rushed out of the body with the extraction of several Ceiling Squads and began to run wild, shaking in the entire 4 Pillars Elephant Barrier, constantly colliding with the barrier to rush out of the outside world. The branches that originally seemed a little fragile were directly blasted into wood chips with the shaking of this chakra. Whether it was the ninjas who controlled the 4 Pillars Elephant Barrier from the outside or the Ceiling Squad who controlled the tailed beast chakra from the inside, it was not easy. Sweat oozes from their foreheads. Several ninjas of the Ceiling Squad trembled their arms and gritted their teeth to control the tailed beast chakra to prevent it from continuing to run wild, with serious faces. On the side, there was some expectation. Shimura Shinpeki looked at this scene fearfully. A person who was normal just now was now filled with a breath that made him terrified. If such a force entered his body, would his body be turned into ashes like those trees? Danzo reached out and patted Shimura Shinpeki on the shoulder. Since you have decided, you can't regret it. You have seen how powerful this force is. Now lie down and prepare to accept the baptism of this force. Hold on to your future will be limitless. Swallowing his saliva unconsciously, Shimura Shinpeki lay on the stone slab with his heart in turmoil. Sarutobi Hiruzen also came to his side as soon as he was unsealed and prepared to inject the tailed beast chakra into his body. The fiery red-tailed beast chakra continuously gathered upwards from Sora's body, gradually forming a fiery red fox, just like the real 9 tails. This fox composed entirely of tailed beast chakra kept roaring, and began to swim towards Shimura Shinpeki with the traction of several sealing teams. Attention! Sarutobi Hiruzen roared, waving his hands to pull the tailed beast chakra into Shimura Shinpeki's body. The powerful tailed beast chakra with destructive power was like a wild horse running wild in his body. Ka! A scream louder than Sora's came from Shimura Shinpeki's mouth, completely suppressing Sora's scream. Compared to the withdrawal, the pain that Shimura Shinpeki suffered directly from this violent chakra was much more painful than Sora. The chakra in his body began to resist this foreign chakra for the first time. But like a domino that was easily pushed down, this foreign violent chakra took root in Shimura Shinpeki's body without hindrance and began to erode his body. His eyes were gradually losing consciousness, and the pupils belonging to humans began to slowly change. The gurgling sound of bubbles came from Shimura Shinpeki's body. He was completely wrapped in the red-tailed beast chakra, and the injuries caused by training in the past began to heal under the impact of this huge and abundant chakra. The two red tails composed of chakra wanted to swing and sweep towards the people who suppressed him, but they were fixed by the people of the sealing team and stuck on the stone slab. It's worse than that kid. His body rejects it very strongly. He has entered the stage of tailed beast in such a short time. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and said, fortunately Naruto was not allowed to bear this power. If there were 9 tails in Naruto's body to command, perhaps this power could directly make Naruto enter at least the tailed beast state of 4 tails. The tailed beast that lost its mind is very difficult to control, especially now it is still in the village. Do you want to consider sealing him completely? Sarutobi looked at Danzo and asked. This person was brought by Danzo, and how to seal him would be decided by Danzo. Wait a minute. If he is completely sealed, he will not be able to achieve the transformation process. Looking at Shimura Shinpei who is almost losing his mind and roaring and struggling like a beast, Danzo closed his eyes and made a seal. Do you remember what you said when we first met? A voice sounded in Shimura Shinpei's mind. Shimura Shinpei, who was suppressed by pain and animality, trembled violently. This voice is very familiar. Shimura Shinpei will never forget the owner of this voice in his life. Didn't you prepare for the pain early in the morning? Isn't the daily training to resist blows for the purpose of better protecting your teammates in the future? The pain between life and death is even stronger than this. Since you want to protect your teammates, you must be prepared to give up your life for them. Try to get used to this pain and accept it. When you fully accept it, you will begin to feel happy because of the strength of your body. Listening to Danzo's words, Shimura Shinpei couldn't help but open his eyes and glanced at Danzo next to him. Staring at his eyes, Shimura Shinpei saw expectation and trust in his eyes. Lord Danzo is waiting for my transformation. Waiting for me to become a qualified subordinate. Don't let me down. Danzo's eyes were fixed on him, and the words were directly and clearly transmitted to his mind through the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan. Yes. The roar was accompanied by a resolute answer. Shimura Shinpei's body, which had been suppressed tightly, suddenly moved, like a fearless moth flying towards the flame-like tailed beast chakra. The pain that had penetrated deep into his bones was still clear at this moment, but the violent aura that Shimura Shinpei had caused by the tailed beast chakra had dissipated. He would not let Danzo down. The pupils of Shimura Shinpei's eyes stopped at this moment. Everyone present could see the changes in Shimura Shinpei. Sarutobi looked at him with some surprise, and then looked at Danzo beside him, his eyes full of disbelief. The situation on Sora's side had begun to stabilize as most of the tailed beast chakra flowed out. Nono and others were helping him with emergency treatment. His skin had already disappeared due to the erosion of this chakra, and the pale red flesh was clearly visible all over his body. As the last chakra flowed out of Sora's body and poured into Shimura Shinpei next to him, his screams stopped, and he had already lost consciousness and fell into a coma. He is unconscious, but the multiple serious injuries inside his body have stabilized. You continue to use the healing jutsu to heal him, and I'll go over there to take a look. After Sora's condition stabilized, Nono rushed to Shimura Shinpei as soon as possible. The situation is the same as Sora's, but Shimura Shinpei's body is much more serious than Sora's. Not only are there multiple serious injuries, but also the tendons and bones are broken, and the outer skin has already shattered with the infusion of chakra, revealing the hideous pink flesh. But Shimura Shinpei's will is still clear, his pupils have not turned into beast pupils because of the brutality of this power, and his body has not yet turned into a beast. Shimura Shinpei's mind has recovered under the influence of Danzo, but the tailed beast chakra that makes a gurgling sound around his body is still rampant. 4-sign seal. Danzo slapped Shimura Shinpei's body, and a black circle appeared on Shimura Shinpei's abdomen, and there were 4 small megatama in the black circle. Although the 4-sign seal can suppress the tailed beast chakra, it cannot completely seal it, and it is even weaker than the 8-sign seal in Naruto's body. But it is precisely for this reason that Shimura Shinpei can use the power of the seal to transform his body with his clear mind now. Think of the 4-sign seal as 10 transformation nightmares. Just help him stabilize the injuries in his body and keep the wounds. Instructing Nono, who had just arrived, Danzo continued to immerse himself in guiding Shimura Shinpei to guide this power through words. As the seal was sealed, the tailed beast chakra that was injected into Shimura Shinpei's body flowed into the seal as if it had found a home under Shimura Shinpei's guidance, and his creepy aura gradually stabilized. The red chakra around his body's surface entered his body through his pores. The benefit of powerful chakra is the improvement of the body's recovery ability.